You should be grateful I even settled for you. She scoffed while packing for her weekend trip with her ex, so I let her go without a word. Now she's living with her parents, and I just closed on my dream home. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I was with Alyssa for 4 years. We met in our mid-20s, back when I was just starting to get my small business off the ground, and she was finishing her master's degree. She was gorgeous, charming, and had this way of making every room revolve around her without even trying. I wasn't flashy. I didn't have six-pack abs or a high-end car, but I was steady. I worked hard, stayed loyal, and made it a point to be the kind of partner she could count on. The guy who remembered her work meetings, who cooked when she was tired, who never forgot an anniversary. At first, it felt like we were on the same page. We both said we wanted to build a life, something stable, long-term. I paid for most of our rent when she was job hunting after grad school, and I never once threw it in her face. I was proud to support her. But over time, little things started to shift. She'd make offhand comments like, "It must be nice to not care about style," when I'd show up in a basic tee and jeans. Or she'd scroll through Instagram and mutter, "Greg just surprised his fiancée with a weekend in Miami." Goals. I thought it was harmless comparison at first. I never saw her as materialistic, just someone who wanted more than we had at the moment. I figured once things picked up with my business, she'd feel more secure. What I didn't realize was that Alyssa never really saw me as a long-term win. I was a safe placeholder, a soft landing. The first time I should have really noticed it was at her best friend's birthday party. I'd stepped outside to take a call and walked back in through the hallway. I paused when I heard Alyssa in the kitchen talking to two of her friends. One of them asked, "Do you ever think you settled too early?" Alyssa laughed, not nervously, not defensively, just casual, effortless laughter. "I mean, yeah, Josh is sweet. But I definitely could have aimed higher. It's just exhausting dating guys who don't treat you right. At some point, you pick someone stable and call it good enough." I just stood there, frozen. I didn't walk in. I didn't say anything. I don't even think I blinked. Later that night, when I asked if anything was wrong, when I was honestly hoping she'd open up or just say she was stressed or whatever, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Everything's fine. You're overthinking again." That became a pattern. Anytime I brought up weird vibes or distant behavior, it was, "You're being paranoid," or "You're too sensitive." Still, I stayed, like an idiot, because I thought love meant sticking it out even when it was hard. I figured every couple hits rough patches. By our 4th year, I was saving for a down payment. I hadn't told her yet. I wanted to surprise her with a home tour. It was going to be a quiet little house just outside the city. Nothing huge, but it had a big yard and a wraparound porch, and I imagined us sitting out there with coffee on Sunday mornings. Alyssa, on the other hand, was getting more restless. She hated our one-bedroom apartment, said the area was boring, that I was too obsessed with security, and that she missed feeling young and spontaneous. Then came the weekend trip. She told me it was a girls' trip to a lake house upstate. I didn't question it. I trusted her. Despite the growing red flags, I never once accused her of cheating. But as she was packing, tossing bikinis and makeup bags into her suitcase, she suddenly turned and said, "You should be grateful I even settled for you. Most guys like you never land someone like me." Just like that. No emotion. No hesitation. Like it was just a fact. I didn't argue. I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't say anything. I just sat on the edge of the bed, watched her zip up her suitcase, and realized, for the first time in 4 years, that I didn't actually know this person at all. And I didn't like what I was starting to see. Alyssa left for her girls' trip that Friday afternoon. She didn't kiss me goodbye, just said, "Don't wait up," and slammed the door a little too hard on the way out. I remember sitting in the quiet afterward, thinking, maybe she didn't mean it like that. Maybe she was just stressed. But the line wouldn't leave my head. "You should be grateful I even settled for you." It echoed, over and over, all weekend. I didn't text her. She didn't text me either. That wasn't new. Whenever she went out with friends, she'd forget her phone or barely get signal. I'd learned not to expect updates. Saturday night, I was sitting on the couch, half watching a movie, when my buddy Darren texted. Just one photo, no caption. It was Alyssa, at a winery, laughing, holding hands with her ex, Trevor. I stared at the picture for a solid minute before the pieces clicked together. Trevor, the guy she swore she hadn't talked to in years. The guy she said was toxic and dramatic and so full of himself. The one she once called a walking red flag. Now she was smiling at him like a prom queen in a Hallmark movie, dressed up and beaming in the sunlight. Nowhere near the lake house she'd told me about. I didn't reply to Darren. Didn't call Alyssa. Didn't ask for an explanation. I just sat there, weirdly calm, while something inside me finally snapped. Not in an angry, explosive way, but in the kind of silent, internal collapse that only happens when you realize you've been played for a long time. The next day, I cleared out half my closet. I packed a couple of bags and booked a short-term rental across town. When Alyssa got home late Sunday night, I was already halfway checked out emotionally. She waltzed in like nothing happened, not a hint of guilt on her face. She dumped her bag by the door and flopped on the couch like she hadn't just spent a weekend cuddling up to another man. "Ugh, I'm so tired," she said. "Those girls drank me under the table." I looked up from my laptop. Calm. Measured. "You don't have to lie, Alyssa." She froze. Didn't say anything for a second. Then gave a nervous little laugh. "What are you talking about?" I tilted my phone so she could see the photo Darren sent. "You were with Trevor, not your friends." Her face shifted instantly. Not guilt, annoyance. "It's not what it looks like. We ran into him. It was just lunch. You're seriously going to freak out over one picture?" You held his hand. She shrugged. "We were reminiscing. It got emotional." "You're reading way too much into it. You lied about where you were going. Because you wouldn't have let me go if I told you the truth," she snapped. Then added, "I needed closure, Josh. You don't understand what it's like to not have closure. You cheated. That's what this is." "No, I didn't," she fired back. "Nothing happened. You're being dramatic. God, this is why I can't talk to you. You twist everything." I stood up, still calm. "We're done, Alyssa." Her jaw dropped. "Wait, what? You don't have to explain anything else. I'm not going to scream or fight or demand details. I'm just done." She blinked like she couldn't process the words. Then her voice rose. "So that's it? You're just walking away? After everything I've given you? Everything you gave me came with conditions. With insults. With comparisons. I don't want that anymore." She looked genuinely insulted. "Wow. So you're just throwing away 4 years because of one stupid picture?" I didn't answer. I picked up my backpack, walked into the other room, and closed the door. Behind it, I could hear her pacing, cursing under her breath. I didn't care. For the first time in years, I felt clear. Not happy. Not even angry. Just free. I slept on the couch that night. Left the next morning before she woke up. She didn't text. Neither did I. It was finally quiet. I moved into the rental the next morning. A one-bedroom on the other side of town. Nothing fancy, but clean, quiet, and mine. No perfume in the air that didn't belong. No tension in the walls. No passive-aggressive sighs or cold silences. Just peace. I didn't tell Alyssa where I went. I didn't block her number either. I wanted her to know she still had access, and that I simply didn't care enough to use the tools most people need to move on. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't running. I just didn't need her anymore. The first message came 2 days later. "Alyssa, so you're just not going to talk to me? After everything?" I didn't respond. The second one came that night. "Alyssa, I made a mistake, okay? It wasn't cheating. Nothing happened. You're just blowing things out of proportion like you always do." Still, nothing from me. 3 days after that, she called. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. "Hey, I don't know why you're being like this. I messed up, but you're not even giving me a chance to explain. I thought you loved me." That line, "I thought you loved me," made me laugh. I think it was the first time I actually laughed in weeks. Because I did love her. For years. Enough to pay the rent while she chased unpaid internships. Enough to cancel trips so I could help her with her coursework. Enough to sit through dinners with her obnoxious friends while they took turns trying to figure out if I was ambitious enough for her. But I was done loving someone who saw me as a consolation prize. By the end of the first week, her tone started shifting. "Alyssa, you're acting like a child. Real adults talk through problems. They don't run away." I didn't run. She just couldn't grasp that silence could be a decision, not avoidance. Around that time, Darren and I grabbed coffee. He asked how I was holding up. I told him the truth. I was sad, yeah, but I wasn't heartbroken. I felt more embarrassed than hurt. Embarrassed that I stayed so long after the signs were there. He hesitated for a second, then said, I've been meaning to tell you. She didn't just run into Trevor. She planned that whole weekend with him. His cousin owns the winery. That girl's trip was a lie from the start. I just nodded. Thanks for telling me. Doesn't change anything. Because it didn't. I already knew the truth, even before I saw the photo. The cheating wasn't the betrayal, not really. The betrayal was in how little she valued me, even before it happened. I spent the next few weeks focusing on my business. A new client deal closed. I got a bonus for hitting our annual targets. I started the process of buying that house I'd been saving for, the one I almost bought with Alyssa in mind. I toured it again, but this time, I looked at it differently. I didn't see her standing on the porch. I saw myself, coffee in hand, dog at my feet, quiet music playing inside. My version of peace. And the best part? I didn't feel lonely. I didn't feel like something was missing. I finally understood that Alyssa didn't break me. She just revealed herself. By the third week, the silence wasn't just mine anymore. Alyssa started filling it with noise. Calls, voicemails, messages on every app, then messages from her friends, girls I barely tolerated even when we were together, suddenly pretending they cared about my feelings. Josh, be reasonable. Alyssa's been crying for days. She made a mistake. You don't just throw away years over one mistake. She's miserable. Is that really what you wanted? What I wanted? I wanted a relationship where I didn't have to question if the person next to me actually liked me, where I wasn't told I was lucky to be tolerated, where I wasn't treated like a safe bet someone made until they could upgrade later. But I didn't say any of that. I didn't respond to them either. I just let the storm pass, because when you stop feeding chaos, it starves. Alyssa's mom even called once. A voicemail I deleted halfway through. Josh, honey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Alyssa told me everything. She's heartbroken. This isn't like you. You've always been so patient with her. Yeah, that was the problem. I'd spent 4 years being patient with disrespect, with sarcasm disguised as just being honest, with her treating my loyalty like a doormat. And I realized something. When you finally walk away from someone like that, they don't panic because they miss you. They panic because they lost control. I closed on the house 2 weeks later. It was surreal walking through it alone. Quiet, white walls. Hardwood floors that didn't creak. That wraparound porch I used to dream about. I stood in the middle of the living room, turned in a slow circle, and felt this strange sense of gravity lift off me. No more walking on eggshells. No more fake apologies. No more trying to convince someone that I was enough. A few close friends came over for a small housewarming. No speeches, no posts online. I didn't feel the need to prove anything. My life didn't need to be seen to be real. But of course, the moment I posted a simple photo of the porch at sunset, she texted me again. Alyssa, so you bought the house anyway? Alyssa, was that the plan all along? To cut me out and just pretend I never existed? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Because she was right about one thing. I had made a decision. I chose peace. It was Darren who told me the full story. We were grabbing lunch when he casually dropped. By the way, heard Trevor dumped her. I looked up. Really? He nodded. Yup. 2 weeks in. Apparently, she tried to move in with him and started talking about long-term stuff. He bailed. Said she was clingy, high maintenance, and, wait for it, emotionally exhausting. He laughed. Sound familiar? It did. And honestly, I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel much of anything. Because by that point, I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't want revenge. I just didn't care. But she clearly wasn't done. The messages started picking up again, different this time. The tone had changed. Alyssa, I know I messed up. Please don't ignore me. Alyssa, it wasn't supposed to go like this. Alyssa, I was stupid. I thought he was someone he's not. I was confused. I should have never left. Alyssa, can we talk? Please. One conversation. I didn't reply. I left every message on read. I wasn't blocking her. I wanted her to know I saw them. That she was no longer worth a response. Then she started sending photos. Old ones. Us at a concert. Her holding my hand at a beach. Little remember this. Traps. I didn't take the bait. Then came the apology voicemail. Josh, I know I hurt you. I was selfish and cruel, and I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. Trevor was a mistake. Everything was a mistake. You were always there for me, and I didn't appreciate it. I thought the grass was greener, and it wasn't. It was just fake turf over garbage. I miss you. I miss us. Please, just talk to me. I listened to the whole thing, then deleted it, because nothing she could say would ever erase what she did. A week later, I was pulling into my driveway when I saw a car parked across the street. I didn't recognize it right away until I saw her step out. Alyssa. She stood there, arms crossed, trying to look casual like she just happened to be in the neighborhood. I didn't get out. I just sat in my car, waiting. Eventually, she walked over. She knocked on the window, and I rolled it down halfway. Can we talk? She asked. Her voice was smaller than I remembered. Not angry, just tired. I looked at her, makeup free, dark circles under her eyes, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands. This wasn't the smug, confident girl who told me I should be grateful she settled. This was someone who'd finally run out of people to blame. Still, I stayed calm. About what? I asked. She bit her lip. I wanted to say sorry. And maybe, see if we could try again. Just talk. Maybe get coffee sometime. Why? I asked. No sarcasm. Just a question. She hesitated. Because I miss you. Because I was stupid. Because you were good to me, and I ruined it. I nodded slowly. You're right. You did. She blinked. That's it. Yeah, that's it. I rolled the window up and pulled into my driveway. She just stood there on the sidewalk, staring at the house she thought she'd be living in. And I walked inside like she was never there. I thought that would be the end of it. But people like Alyssa don't accept being forgotten. Not when they've spent their whole lives believing they were unforgettable. She showed up at my house again the next weekend. This time with makeup, a fresh blowout, and that sugary fake smile she used to use on my parents when she wanted to win them over. I didn't open the door. She knocked twice. Waited. Knocked again. Eventually, she shouted through the door. You don't have to pretend, Josh. I know you still care. You're just trying to punish me. But this isn't you. I stood behind the curtain and said nothing. The next day, I got a text. Alyssa, wow. So you really don't give a damn. After everything. You're heartless. Then another. Alyssa, you don't even deserve me. I lowered myself for you. I was too good for you from day one. There she was again, the real Alyssa. The mask had slipped, and underneath the apologies and tears was the same girl who scoffed at me while packing her suitcase. That was the last message I ever read from her. I finally blocked her on everything. Not out of anger. Not to send a message. Just because she no longer had a place in my life. The silence after that wasn't empty. It was peaceful. And every time I stepped onto my porch, coffee in hand, dog at my feet, sun rising over my new street, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. 2 months later, I got invited to a barbecue. Darren's girlfriend was hosting, and a bunch of our mutual friends were going. I almost said no. I didn't want drama. But Darren assured me Alyssa wouldn't be there. He was wrong. She showed up about an hour in, clearly not invited. She looked thinner, worn out, wearing an outfit I knew she picked specifically because she thought I might be there. When she spotted me, her whole face lit up, like I was the life raft she'd been waiting to see. I didn't even flinch, just nodded once and kept talking to the couple in front of me. But of course, she found her way over. Waited until I was alone grabbing a drink. Josh. I turned. Hey. You look good. Thanks. She glanced down, fidgeted, then looked up with that forced confidence. So seeing anyone? I smiled. No. I'm just enjoying life. She blinked. That clearly wasn't the answer she wanted. I've been thinking a lot. About us. About how I treated you. I was arrogant. I thought I'd always have you. I was wrong. I took a sip of my drink. Yeah, you were. She stared at me for a few seconds, searching for some crack, some trace of the guy who used to beg for her attention. But he was gone. Do you ever think about what we had? I shrugged. Sometimes. Then I remember what you said before you left. And it gets real easy to forget. Her voice got smaller. I didn't mean it like that. I was just scared. I thought I was missing out. I nodded. You were. She blinked. Wait, what? You were missing out. On someone who actually cared. Someone who saw you as a partner, not a placeholder. You traded that for a lie and found out the hard way. She stared at me, jaw tight. You don't have to be cruel. I'm not. I looked her in the eye. You said I should be grateful you settled. But the truth is, you settled too. And now we both see it. And with that, I set down my cup, wished her a good night, and walked away. Not angry. Not bitter. Not heartbroken. Just done. And free. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.